Today, we're going to be talking about board structure and leadership transitions, running auditions, audition video preparations, and that sort of thing. So I'll give all the panelists here a chance to introduce themselves and say a little bit about their a cappella experience.
Okay, I can go first. My name is Srihitha. I just graduated UGA in May. I was a part of UGA Kalakaar for all 4 years of college. I was business manager my sophomore and junior year, and then this past year I was president.
I can go next.
Sorry, you go.
All right. My name is Naren. I'm the incoming president of Rutgers ROG. And last year I was vice president, and 2 years ago I was fundraising chair, and I'm an incoming senior.
I can go next. Yeah, my name is Ashna. I just recently graduated from Purdue, and I was on Purdue Thal for 4 years, and then was captain for three of them. Yeah.
Thank you guys. So today we'll kind of do 45 minutes of where I'll ask questions and the panelists will answer. And then we'll do 15 minutes of questions from you guys and you guys can ask anything you want and yeah, we'll kind of go from there. Um, so to get started, my first question for the panelists are how did you guys structure your board? What was the planning process like?
So I can take that. Like for us, at least like Rutgers kind of forces us to adopt a certain structure, and like we don't deviate too much from it. Like essentially, like they force like every club to have like well, they just changed it this year. Like before, it used to be president, secretary, treasurer, and PR were like the four mandatory positions you had. Now they added vice president as another mandatory position. But so at least for our current board, we have those five positions and the music directors and performance director, essentially.
Thank you. And yeah, we can have the other panelists chime in as well. We can have all of them talk.
Okay,
I can
awesome. Oh, sorry.
go go for it. You go for it.
Okay, yeah, so for Thal, we had like our structure hasn't really changed much like over the past few years. We added logistics chairs like 1 or 2 years ago, but generally it's been the same. So we usually have three captains that sort of oversee everything. We don't really have like music directors, but we have usually like 3 to 6 mix leads, depending on if people make like a mix by themselves or with a partner. And then we usually have two logistics chairs that help with like costumes, fundraising, comp related things, and then two social media chairs.
Okay. Our exec is split up into 6 positions, I would say. We have deviated a little bit before just based on like what people's strengths were and what their interests were, and that's just what worked for us. But the general structure, I feel like the roles are like pretty much the same and the duties are the same. So there's two captains, one is the president and the other is the music director, and then the other standard exec roles. So there's the PR chair, the choreo director that takes care of all the choreography, and then two business managers, and one of them takes care of fundraising, and then the other one takes care of like finances and budgeting for the team.
Thank you. And going more into board structure, like specifically talking about music directors, we've seen teams with like multiple MDs and then some teams with just one. So I guess for each of your teams, how many music directors did you guys have or that type of role? And if you did have multiple, how were the responsibilities divided, especially when it comes to set creation?
So for us, I mean, we have like max two usually. Like I think actually it's kind of funny. Like I feel like the years before this, like my first year we had two music directors. My second year we had three, and then my third year we had one. So like, but like generally like Generally two is like the max. Like when we had three, it was like they were in charge of the entire set, like music and choreo. So, but yeah, I feel like two is probably the best number, but one is also like if it's like a returning MD, like it could be useful.
Yeah, for Thal, we don't really like have music directors. We call them mix leads. I've heard like other teams in the circuit have like they vote on the people that make their mixes, and they usually have like one or two people do this. So the way like we usually organize this is we have people present like ideas of mixes they have in a demo, and then the whole team like votes on the ideas, and the ones we like the most end up being how we end up choosing our mix leads. And there's usually like one to two people creating each mix, like I said in the previous question, and that's how like responsibilities are divided too. Each person is sort of, or pair is responsible for their own mix.
Okay, for us, it's structured a little bit differently. So, like I was saying before, we really adapt to people's strengths, and their interests. So, I think my sophomore and junior year, we had two music direct, or sorry, sophomore year two, and then junior year three. I can't remember exactly. Wait, no, junior year two. And then this past year, we had one music director, um, and all of that worked amazingly well. But like, because it's a lot of work to put all of that arranging together, we implemented something called arrangers that work with the music director to compose the set so that they there's multiple people. It's usually like one to two people that are the arrangers, and there's multiple people doing the set, but then the music director also has a little bit of that load off so that they can like work with the president for like captain duties, focus on teaching the team, like things like that. And then obviously the Rangers are going to be included like in the set's name when we like submit it to comps, like their name's going to be included on that. Personally, I thought we implemented that last year was the first time, and then going forward, we're doing that too. Personally, I thought that was really helpful. And I think there's no reason to have like a specific structure, but like I think the arrangers just really help like take off that load, if that makes sense.
Yep. Thank you. And now, kind of moving on to finance. Can you guys talk about how you went about getting your budget, like whether your respective schools were cooperative with it, and if they weren't, like what were alternative sources? And I budgets all or finance is always the thing that's difficult for a lot of teams. So yeah, we'd love your input on this.
Sure. Like for us at least, it we get like partially covered by the school and the rest is either out of pocket or we like fundraise some things. But honestly, every year it is true. Like budget is the biggest challenge. Like last year, we started out with like $300 in the fall from the school. It was terrible. Like, but definitely like I feel like what helps the most is not just like fundraising, but um just like saving money by like doing driving comps like that. Like we're so lucky that Boston and Richmond are near us. Like if not, I think we'd be flying out everywhere. We'd be spending so much money. So that definitely is like the biggest thing that makes budget less of a worry now.
Yeah, I feel like I totally relate to everything you just said. Yeah, over the past few years, like Thal usually fundraises because funding from Purdue has been a lot more strict. We haven't gotten like any money from Purdue over the past few years, even though like we continuously apply to grants. So our main form of like fundraising is we work concessions through Purdue, like basketball and football games, and we also like reach out to different dorms or like specific school departments for sponsorships, and see if we can give them also something in return. And then, yeah, we mainly spend it on like competitions within the circuit. Things like travel and hotel tend to cost the most. We also recorded our set over the past 2 years. So that's like another big area where our budget as a club goes. And the way we sort of like navigate this is we create a budget at the beginning of the year, depending on our different team goals, and then map out sort of how much we want to fundraise based off of that. We've definitely gone to like more driving comps over the past few years to save money as well. And then there are times where like unfortunately we'll sometimes like not have uh as much money as we would like. So, but and we tried to like limit the amount of times we'd ask like members to pay out of pocket and comp anyone that was struggling financially so that it was equal and like fair for all of our members.
Okay, so our experience is just a little bit different since we don't really have any driving like comps that we can drive to near us, so we do fly out everywhere. I would say my biggest piece of advice, I was involved in like the financial aspect for like the last 3 years. My biggest advice would be to always think about how to be making money next. Like um every single like meeting, whatever, like we would always talk about, okay, like what's our game plan? What fundraiser are we doing next? How it works is that everyone pays their own like comp fees, travel fees, everything's up front. And then at the end of the year, we reimburse everyone. And we also do get a little bit money from the school each semester, but it's not like too much. Like we still need to be doing other things. So in the past, some examples, we've had bake sales the night before a big game because everyone's like downtown. We've partnered with local food shops, like or even like Chipotle, and then had a percentage of that money. We usually do like a fall concert, or sometimes if we have time, like a spring concert, so that like we charge people for tickets and like make money that way as well and put on a show for everyone. But my biggest take is that I wouldn't sleep on those little ways to make money because everything really adds up.
Yeah, thank you. I think yeah, it's always difficult for teams, especially those that don't have driving competitions nearby to figure out a way. But speaking about competitions, wanted to get your guys' input on how did you all go about planning for competitions or any other big performances that you've had?
Okay, I can go first. So usually we have the finance chair, the business managers that I was talking about, we have them doing competitions and planning for competitions. Obviously, there's a lot of behind the scenes work, like applying through ICTA and then submitting everything that's required. And then how we split up that work is we basically do like, for example, the music director and the arrangers and then we also have a music committee actually that helps with some of that behind the scenes work for whoever's interested. It's like 2 to 3 people. They take care of like the lyrics translation and like all of that musical aspect. And then our choreo chair and our music director work together for like the lighting cues sheet. And then it's like the rest of it, like the business managers take care of like the planning. I know for me, I for like the president, I wrote up a schedule of like what we should be doing for like the entire weekend, and I found that to be really helpful and organized. So I think it's just like really splitting up your duties and splitting up the work to make sure that no one is feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, I feel like you did a great job like talking about the specific logistics, like applying on ICTA and like specific comp things. In terms of like a general timeline, just to like provide more information, like we have main performances during our school year. So that's like our the volley shows at school and then competitions. And this helps us like sort of structure when to do like certain parts of our set as well. So or the volley shows tend to be like late October, early November, and then we'll learn all of the mixes vocally in that time frame with no choreo at that point, which usually means we like learn from 30 to 45 seconds of like each mix, and then we do 2 mixes per practice to sort of like pace ourselves that way so that we are ready like in time for that deadline. And then from November to sort of like when winter break starts mid-December, we'll learn all of the choreo, even if it's like really, really messy. And then from January to when comps start, we sort of rework a lot of our choreo after first iteration and like any small mix changes and like spend those months building up stamina because it's generally pretty difficult to like piece together singing and choreo and then spend the rest of that time sort of like cleaning up to be comp ready.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of just echo what you two said because like our process is very similar. Like we also split up the work on applying for comps and for doing itinerary, things like that. And in terms of our practice schedule, it's very similar to produce. Like it's like we also start choreo around like November-ish. And I think one of the benefits for Rutgers at least is that because we're a state school, a lot of people are from Jersey. So like we do like winter rehearsals sometimes, just and like those can be like they can be grueling but very useful because everyone who is able to make it at least they kind of are on the same page about things like choreo and blend, things like that.
Yeah, thank you. And then going along those lines, what does a typical rehearsal look for you guys? Like, I guess, what do you guys focus on when you're far away from comp versus closer to the comp? How does that change? And yeah, basically, how do you prepare for competitions and after them as well?
I can go first. Yeah, so for Thal at least, our practices are 2 hours each, and we spend like the first 10 or 15 minutes doing vocal and choreo warm-ups, depending on where we are in the season. I explained this like a little bit in the last question as well, but we usually spend half of practice like working on one mix, either vocally or choreo, and then the other half working on the other mix. At the beginning of the season, again, we're focused on like learning all of the mixes vocally. And then as comps come closer, we learn choreo more. We build stamina like closer to the comps, piece it together, do like different exercises to try to like sing and dance at the same time. But yeah, that's how we generally structure it.
I can go next. Yeah, I would say our rehearsal structure looks pretty similar to Thal's too. We do 2 hours a week, 2 days a week in the beginning. And then that's just like a whole for like until like mid-October, I would say, to November, which is the goal to learn everything by then and then start choreo around then. And then as comp season starts intensifying, we kind of might like increase rehearsal time to like 2.5 hours, 3 days a week, something like that, if it's like a comp week. But usually it's like first we focus on the music. We also do 10 to 15 minutes of warm-ups and then we learn it piece by piece usually. And then once we start implementing choreo, we focus on choreo and like music, like just putting it together. And then in like January, I would also say that we focus on building that stamina. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, for us, it depends on what time in the semester that we are at for sure. Like during the fall, we try to meet like twice a week. We start out like 2 hours, but usually it becomes 3 hours pretty quickly because like you realize that like wait, there's a lot of stuff to learn. But and then like in spring, we try to meet like 3 hours. I mean 3 hours a week, 3 days a week. And definitely like towards like the at least before every comp we always have like we meet like every day usually like you know for like a little hell week and then we just try to do like set runs like especially before a comp like probably like last like day or two is definitely just gonna be like set run after set run.
Yeah, thank you. And going back to the audition process, when forming your respective teams, how did you assess, like kind of how did you assess each auditionee's blend and how they would kind of fit into your team?
Yeah, I can go. So our audition process, it looks a little different every year, but the process is typically the same. So we have our standard, like, they can sing, they can pick whatever song they want. So they sing for like 1 to 1.5 minutes of that. And then we have also additional sections for rhythm, tonal memory, where we play something for them. And then for the rhythm, they clap it back to us. And then for the tonal memories, they sing it back to us. We have another section for blend as well, where we all sing together and see how they blend into our team. And I think keeping that standard audition process is really helpful to like filter people out and see if they're a good fit blend wise and everything. And then sometimes we do callbacks too. I know last year we did a lot of callbacks just to make sure everything is in order. But that's typically how it looks for us.
Yeah, I can go next. Our auditions are a little bit different. They're usually like 10 to 15 minutes. We'll spend the first 5 minutes like learning about the person, if they have like any past singing experience, more about their personality and like what they're generally interested in. And then for the singing part of the audition, we ask them to sing at least like 30 to 45 seconds each of like any two songs. And it can be any type of song that they feel comfortable singing. And then in terms of blend, we actually don't have like an additional aspect. It'd be great to do something like tonal memory, so thanks for the idea. But in terms of like evaluating how that person would like fit into our group as well, when we hear their voice, we sort of like take notes on their tone, and if it seems like it would be the right fit within our group and the voices that we currently have, and we'll end up like accepting them. But I would say it has to do like a lot with fit as well. Like certain years we lose some types of voices. Sometimes we're looking for like specific voices on our team, and we try to fill in the missing gaps depending on the type of talent we get in the auditions.
So for us, I guess it's kind of like a mix of both. Like we have two rounds of auditions. So like in the first round, we have the people just sing and that's about it. Like we just have them sing like a 30 to 45 minute, I mean, for 35 second, my bad. Like snippet of like of two songs and whatever they want. And then if they move on from that round, then or like the next week we have our second round of auditions. And that's where we test like tonal memory, blend, things like that. So for second round, what we do is that we have them learn like a piece from like just a part. We sign them apart after their first audition, and then we have them learn a part of our old set from like the last year. And then so like usually at the start, like the way that we kind of catch people's vibes is that we have like little workshops where like the current parts they kind of like guide the callback people as to and like give them feedback, give them advice and kind of just so like for like first half hour or so we have that sort of workshop that goes on. And then after that, we move on to individual auditions where they sing with us, they do like some exercises and things like that.
Yeah, thank you. And for your respective teams, I mean, you guys have been successful. You've had success in the recent years. So, what helped your team become established? And as you guys are established, how do you maintain that culture with future members?
Okay, I can go. I would say from my experience, first of all, I think becoming established, I think I owe it all to my captains, my sophomore and junior year. They really had a really great attitude. Um, I think they focused on having fun, but like they also were had that like a little bit of that competitive spirit in them and like had that motivation to for everyone to show up with their best and like try their best, and they believed that everyone had so much potential, which really rubbed off on everyone too. So I think being captain, being exec, like that's the number one, that would be my advice, that's the number one thing that you should be doing for your team. um but I think we were established, I would say like my sophomore year, and then as we went to more comps and like saw more people and how passionate they were about the circuit, how much fun they were having. We also like adopted that mentality and that spirit. And then staying established, I think just like the same thing, have fun, show up, try your best, like encourage everyone to try their best. Um, but I think a positive attitude can go a really long way.
I feel like for us, like it definitely is like I mean on your point about staying established, it is really kind of like a wild card like every year can have so many highs and ups and downs. And so like definitely like never growing complacent is like something that we've really learned to do as a team because it's like given like my first year we placed in nationals and then the second year like we didn't even come close to nationals and then you know God willing this past year we also placed but it's like it's just really a roll of the die every time and so like making sure to have that like humility and never really becoming arrogant in your own success is something that's like very important and also for us we have a strong alum network for sure and like definitely like getting that guidance from like the people who were in our team before and like kind of replicating what they did and like having like a kind of just having like these strong like traditions like auditions and things like that um I feel like definitely have helped.
Yeah, in terms of like Thal's journey, I know we started competing more formally within this circuit at UCLA Sahana in 2019. And then we did like a few other like smaller competitions before that. I heard from older members that like our mindset shift, it like we started to become more competitive around like 2022. It's when we started going to like two comps a year. Our captains at the time wanted to focus on having like going to comms being competitive versus like recording, which is what they had done in the past, especially like during COVID time. Yeah, and then since then we've sort of looked at other teams in terms of like what we've liked, what we've seen has been like successful in the circuit, and what we've resonated with, and also try to incorporate that into more of our set. In terms of like properly establishing our team like throughout time, I feel like there were two main parts that like really factored into our success. One being like organizational structure within our club, and the second thing being like the creative process. So in terms of like organization, it's important to have like the right people caring about the right thing, picking people who are good and passionate about what they do and having them lead that aspect of the club genuinely like really helps out over time. And then I'll repeat a lot of what they said about the creative process, but like with our club, it definitely came from trial and error. Like being in this circuit is like we're extremely grateful, and it's also like a very humbling experience because there's so many other like talented groups around us as well. Yeah, so in terms of that, like over the past like few years, we definitely like learned a lot of things from other groups. We saw what worked. And then I feel like also judges' comments helped us a lot. But in terms of that, there's no like set rule in terms of how to get better as a team. It's just something you continue to work on. And as long as you have like people that genuinely really care about making your club get better, you have the right pieces and like the right tools to be successful.
I guess my next question, I think you guys might have talked about this already, but just specifically into as you guys have graduated, how do you how did you train the future captains of your team and ensure that there's a smooth transition?
I can speak on like Doll's behalf. Luckily we had like one person that was also like for me, it was like me, my co-captain who also just graduated, and then someone like our friend who is like a junior. And so now she's a senior and she's able to sort of carry that in. She took like notes throughout the year to make sure that like everything was being covered, which was at least like something we were really grateful for. Everything is like it's a lot to keep track of everything and sort of like the moving pieces, especially throughout the year. But I think we were blessed in terms of like having at least one person be able to continue the leadership within the next year and sort of known how it's worked in the past. But yeah, we in terms of like our future captains, like as well, we have like two new captains that we elected like pretty early on, like before we ended up going to A3, that they helped us out with like comp aspects as well. Like sound, we had people go backstage for that and like lighting as well. So we have the fact that they learned those parts and then we sort of like caught them up on the rest.
Okay, I can go next. So for this upcoming year, at least, usually every year at the end of the year, we'll do transition meetings. So it'll be like the president and then for example, like a business manager and then an incoming business manager. And then we basically talk about like timeline for the entire year, and then just duties, overall advice, things like that. So we do that for every single role. Um, in terms of like training and stepping into that role, especially this last year, we started implementing committees. So I like mentioned earlier, we had a music committee. So they'd be like helping with just like the small details of like having advice on where to arrange something or like change some things. And then at the end of the year, they also have the opportunity to arrange something if they'd like. So things like that kind of build up to if they want to apply for a position, like if they wanted to apply to be a ranger or a music director. And then we also have a business committee that helps out with like small things like planning for what we're doing like the day after a comp, like logistical planning, like that stuff. And then usually like our two people on business committee this year are now our incoming business managers. So that way they have like that little bit experience too. But I would highly recommend implementing those committees because people are definitely going to be interested. And then it's also a way for them to be like in training for the following year too.
I can go next. I mean, I'm not like a graduate, I guess, but it's like the perspective of someone who, um, was kind of mentored by somebody who graduated. Like definitely like having that relationship. Like I feel like I always say, well, I always think that succession for the next year is always determined this year, really. Like that's when it really starts. You really start to plan succession. And so just like um definitely like the current president and like whoever's on e-board keeping like notes and like just like um evaluating people's capabilities from the start is definitely like something that we do in ROG and like um we definitely and also like our alum network as well is like super helpful for like incoming people. Like for instance, I've definitely like relied on the previous president a lot of times. Like I've texted her a lot about like what do I do? Like what do I do in this situation? So
And just with team rehearsals, one of the biggest things some teams face is attendance, like consistent attendance uh, throughout the season. So how do you guys handle attendance, or if you've had issues with that in the past?
I can go first for this one. Yeah, so in Thal, we have like a Google spreadsheet where we have like everyone's names and then like every date of practice and sort of like if they made it there like on time, tardy, like we have tardy excused, tardy unexcused, and then also just like absent. And we keep track of those. And we also we go through the guidelines that we have as a club at the very beginning of the year in terms of our attendance policy. And it's sort of like a contract, so we have everyone sign and make sure that they agree to this, and it's something that everyone is comfortable with before we start off our season, so that later on, if there is like problems with attendance, we can say like, hey, this is something that you agreed to earlier. let's try to like come up with a way so that you can consistently continue to come to practice. Thankfully, like in the past, because everyone has known these guidelines, it hasn't really been a huge problem. But if it ever was like a small problem, we would just communicate with the member and try to come up with a plan in terms of how they can attend more practice.
Yeah, for ROG, it's like we also have them sign like a contract or sort of thing, and then we have like a point system. So like if you have like some like X amount of unexcused att absences, then like you'll have a fine. Uh, and then so that definitely serves to deter people, but also definitely like I feel like realistically, the main reason that people are gonna come to practice is because if their friends are coming, right? And so like, we try to make sure that everyone like likes each other and like is like friends with each other so they actually want to show up and like have fun. Um and like even in the case where not everyone does like each other, like people are gonna have at least one friend. And so you have to kind of you have to see the weakest link. Like who's that one friend who's like gonna come? You feel me?
I would say for Kalakaar, it's very similar to Rag and Thal both. We also have a contract, and then we also do the point system where it's like if they don't show up to practice or they're late without telling anyone on exec, they have to pay a fine. So there's all those things in place too. And then I think the biggest thing that we did last year is, sorry, my phone just fell. The biggest thing that we did last year is that we were very upfront about the time commitment in all of the audition process itself. So when we were like asking about them and their musical experience and all of that, we just gave them a little disclaimer to be like, just to let you know, this is how the time commitment's going to look first and second semester. And we just want to make sure that you're committed. And to be honest, I think that really helped just so that everything was out in the clear and there was no miscommunication there. But I think the contract also really helped with attendance too.
Yeah, thank you. And I see that we also have some questions from the chat. So this is from Shruti. What is the creative process for making arrangements, learning pieces slash like learning choreo as well?
Okay, I can go. So I feel like it's a very like different timeline for each of those. So first making arrangements, it's like the arrangers and music director that I was talking about for our team. They usually do that in the summer so that everyone's ready to start learning the pieces from the get-go from when we are back in school. And then learning the pieces, we start that when we're back in school, usually after our audition process. So we do our first like couple rehearsals, we have like auditions. And then after everyone's selected, everyone starts to learn the pieces. And then the choreo we kind of implement in like, we try to implement if we can in like late October, early November to like put everything together.
Yeah, I can go next. Yeah, in terms of making our arrangements, we vote on our mixes during the summer, so that mix leads are able to have the time like making the pieces at least like 30 seconds of their mix, and have something before the school year starts so that we can like hop into the school year and immediately get started. Yeah, and like I said earlier, this runs till we have the volley shows in like late October, early no November, and we start choreo after that. In terms of like important aspects of the creative process that I wish I knew generally, like in the past we got a lot of comments about like and I'm specifically like talking creatively about like parallel motion, so just like making sure that your mixes are just generally very like complex and interesting help with that. And then in terms of our choreo, I think having like formations, not having like individualized choreo and having like group choreo has like really helped elevator set.
For rock, we try to get everything like arranged by the summer, but we usually fail. So we usually like realistically we'll have the arrangements done by like October. Like, but and it definitely is like a very ongoing like process all the time. It's like, the arrangements are never like set ever. And like there can be weeks where we have like last minute changes like a day or two before comp, and then we just have to like take it, I guess. But like as for choreo, we definitely try we try to do it like try to make most of the choreo around like October as well, so that we can have a good foundation by November. And then we have the choreo directors, they send like they usually send videos of like either them explaining the choreo, or like they have like these like diagram videos where they explain formations and things like that. And we also use like a decent amount of practice time just to like explain things like choreo, or and uh and really like try to just continuously edit during practice like everything, and just like critically examine everything during practice.
And what is your guys' advice for a team, especially if you can speak on this, of a team that's just starting out and trying to get into comps and compete well? Like, what is your guys' best advice for them that really don't know what's going on behind the scenes?
Okay, I can go. I would say the first thing is to really use your resources. Like, I think the ASA website and just like things like this, like y'all are already here, is a great start. And then I would say definitely maintain consistency when it comes to like team practices, team attitude, things like that. I know as a college student, things can get really busy and really hard, especially when you're in like a leadership position, but just truly like try your best, even if you're not feeling it, to like show up and like be consistent with it. And like if you do that, I truly do think that that's something that's going to work out in the end. um and like in terms of like just getting into comps, I would say try to establish that mentality with your team as well. Like not like to like stress them out or anything or like burn them out, but just like that competitive spirit definitely needs to be there in each and every person, because they need to try to show up like to do their best that day. So like kind of gauge that and like try to establish that within your team. And I feel like everyone would really show up with their best, and like you would be going to comps.
Yeah, in terms of like creating a team from scratch, first of all, if you're doing that, props to you, because like it takes a lot of effort and it's not something that's like very easy. So that's like a huge first step. Yeah, but I said this like earlier too, but just having a core of people who like genuinely care goes such a long way. Like one to three people from like an organizational perspective, to sort of help oversee the club, and then a few people creatively. Yeah, again, it goes like a very long way to have that. Yeah, and just like making sure that you foster practices that are an environment that everyone feels comfortable and happy to go to. Like I think the reason why we end up presenting such a great product on stage is because we genuinely all love each other like off stage as well. And sort of like having, I would say having bondings and like caring about each other and hanging out with each other is equally as important as like the stat aspect. Yeah, I genuinely think you can tell when teams love each other on stage. It's like super corny, but it does work and it does motivate people. And yeah, it makes the harder times easier as well. Like there are times where we'll have like boot camps that are like closer to comps, and having people that genuinely care again goes such a long way. Yeah, but I would say structure the board of your club first. Reach out to people who would be interested and just like continue to start early. Like she said, it's super important to just like be consistent. There are going to be days where it doesn't feel like you want to continue to do things because your team has already been like in overdrive, but it's super worth it in the end.
Yeah, I can definitely add on to that about like the um definitely like I feel like unity is probably the most important thing to any team, and like especially like the e-board, but and also ensuring continuity of that um of those people who care across the different years, and like really instilling that sort of belief that like you can compete, and then like that belief that like you're in this together, corny as it may sound, but yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, and how do you guys keep your team members accountable to learning and memorizing their music and choreo? Because obviously it's gonna require to do some practicing at home away from practice as well.
I would say like in Thal, it's a super big thing that like over breaks, we want people to like not forget about the choreo, especially in like the months of November and December. We're learning choreo like very quickly, and it's like very easy to forget if you have a longer break. So we usually just like ask members to send in like one or two videos of them over the break, just like doing the choreo and singing, and put them in a drive by the time we like head back to school, so that it just takes like a little bit of their time over break, but we hit the ground running when everyone does come back. And we don't have to like restart. And we went through like, I would say like a painful process of we learned that the hard way for sure, where we like came back and no one remembered the choreo or like parts of the mixes. And so yeah, I think that's super important.
Yeah, I can go next. I think we do something very similar. So we also do the recordings, but we do that from the beginning of fall semester itself. So we have like while we're learning the set, we do like music recordings for each arrangement. Nothing too extensive. It's usually just like one or two arrangements based on what we went over that week. So those are due weekly, and then the arrangers and music director go through those recordings and kind of give everyone feedback based on what they're hearing. And then we all just like work on our individual feedback. And then in terms of choreo, when we start learning that, I know like this past year, sometimes the timeline is a little shifted. So we've had like our choreo chair like explaining the choreo to us, and then like we learn it on our own. And then we also over the break, I think winter break is a really big thing. When everyone comes back, it's like hard for everyone to piece together everything. So we also do that where they do like a video of the choreo and like singing together. I think that was really helpful as well.
Yeah, for ROG, we also have kind of similar system of like audio recordings and choreo video recordings as well during break. And generally, I think after we finished learning one arrangement, we generally try to get people to send in audio recordings. And if you don't send one in, it's like you get fined usually. And then my bad, my dad just walked in. But like um but essentially we also have um sorry, I like lost my train of thought. Um, we also do a lot of one-on-one work with at least the MDs. They try to do a lot of one-on-one sessions with people. Like say like if there's somebody who's like maybe not getting the set they getting their part as much, and like it's noticeable, then we try to do like either meetings with like individual people or like with voice parts, and definitely like those individual voice part sessions have helped a lot for blending with your own part and like knowing your part.
And then also as a captain, president, or MD yourselves, how do you balance the time commitment and mental load with academics and other extracurricular work?
I can go. I would say the biggest thing that I learned throughout my years on exec is really, really split up those duties and like you don't need to stick to your own job or like do your own work and like do your own job, but also be willing to like help out other positions as well. I think having a strong exec team goes a really long way. It's like Ashna was saying before, like having people that really care and are like genuinely passionate and organized goes a really long way. So I think that starts in picking like balancing all your time starts when you're picking your exec team for the following year. So personally, like for me, I wouldn't really say that I thought of Kalakaar as like work. I mean, I definitely did think of it as work when I needed to, but like in terms of like showing up to practice or like doing the behind the scenes work, like I don't really think it was like a mental load on me. It was more like I was doing it because I cared, and if I ever needed help, I would ask someone to help me out. So I think having a good exec team could go a really, really long way.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo a lot of what you said. In terms of captains on our club and the way we try to do things. At the beginning of the year, I feel like we sort of split up like the different duties that we're all interested in, which goes a long way because like certain people are interested in doing like specific things and it helps it go by faster. But there are gonna be like certain times of the year where it's not like super easy. You're not like going to be able to do everything that you've wanted to do, and having your captains to sort of like lean on when those times happen is super important. And like vice versa as well, obviously. But yeah, in terms of like school and captaincy and sort of managing that, I think a lot of it does go by fast because it's work that like you genuinely care about, and like when you do have work that you want to do, it doesn't feel like a task, like she also said as well. But yeah, we just try to split that up, try to understand when other people are busy as well, and carry on that workload if needed.
Yeah, I can add on to that. Definitely um definitely having the mentality that you're not in this alone, like you're in this as a group, as an exact team. That definitely helps a lot because I feel like um a lot of people in the same team are gonna have the same worries as you. And like when things inevitably do get busy with like midterms and like a lot of homework and things like those, for better or worse, your exec team is also going to have that same burden. And so at least you can relate to them. And also, if I would say like also having like friends outside of your team for sure does help. Or like, just a hobby as well outside of this, just to kind of keep things fresh and like not think about it all the time.
Yeah, and before we go on to our last question of this panel, I just wanted to thank you all for being here and engaging with the circuit. So for our last question, it was what was your process for choosing soloists for your pieces?
Okay, I can go. So for our soloists, our solo audition, we have solo auditions, and those usually happen typically after we pick like the newbies, the new team. We give it a couple weeks. We're like learning the pieces, and then we have the MDs and arrange or the MD and the arrangers send out the pieces, and we have like timestamps of when that audition or when the solo would be in the piece. And then we also have like the key that the solo would be in. And then everyone has like a couple weeks to prepare. And then they just put their name down for the audition and they go ahead and audition. And then the like logistics behind it is like everyone auditions at once and then they all leave the room and then the rest of the team discusses who the soloist would be. And then we pick a soloist and then we also pick an understudy for each song. And then we do all of those auditions for each arrangement at the same time so that everything is like predetermined.
Yeah, for Thal, we pretty much have like the exact same process, other than the fact that we try to do like it's hard to get through all of the auditions in like one day. So we try to just like make them relatively close to each other. It tends to be just like a week of auditions. But yeah, other than that, pretty much like the exact same process. We learn like maybe a minute and a half of the mixes. And then we have like we'll have the mix leads post the solos and what they're supposed to sound like so people can have a few weeks to practice those. They'll come into practice. Yeah, everyone who's auditioning will like stay out of the room and then we'll go one by one, like listening to the auditions. And then yeah, it's a democracy basically. Like people are able to vote on whoever they think would be the best soloist. We have like an understudy or like a number two pick just in case something like clashes with another solo. But yeah, pretty much a very similar process.
For us, usually like solo auditions can all do like multiple rounds as well because we have like a very similar process as in everyone who auditions um they leave the room and then they go one by one. But then sometimes like especially when the group can't make a consensus, we have like two or three people re-audition as well, like as like kind of like to see like who's like the top two, top three.
So with that, that will conclude the panel. Thank you to the panelists again, and thank you all for coming.
Thanks, everyone.